In order to display the contents of a particular entry in my new journal entry view controller, I need some way to pass that information from my table view controller to my entry view controller. And in order to do that, we're going to need a new custom class. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command N to create that new class. I'm going to make sure I'm in iOS source. I want to make sure it's a Cocoa Touch class. I'm going to make it I want to make it a table view controller. I want to make it a subclass of view controller and make it a journal entry view controller. Hit create. And now I have my journal entry view controller with its standard code. Let's go ahead and go back to our main storyboard and make sure that our journal entry view controller is using our new class instead of the default one. So I'm going to make sure it's selected, click on the identity inspector, and make sure this is journal entry view controller. And it is. So since I want to be able to show the contents, I'm going to create a text view area. So I'm going to use my object library, so Option Command L, start typing text. And I'm going to use a text view this time because it takes, it allows you to put in more information. So I'm going to put it about here. Make it a little bit wider. And I'm going to add some constraints for that text view. So I'm going to do a vertical spacing to top, leading, trailing, and then bottom. So now it looks like all my constraints are fine. I'm going to delete all this boilerplate text since I really don't need it. I'll do that in the attributes inspector. Delete all that. And then I'm just going to use my, as a placeholder, I'll call it journal entry contents, just so I know what is going to be in there. Okay, I'm going to open up the assistant editor, and I want to make sure that I can see my journal entry view controller. I want to create a property for my text view so that I can reference it in my code. So I'm going to hold the control key down, control drag to my journal entry view controller, make it an outlet. I'm going to call it journal entry contents. Hit connect. Okay, now I have that property. I'm also going to add another property, that of a journal entry, so I can retrieve a particular journal entry, and it'll be of type journal entry, and it's optional since it's not going to be instantiated when this class is brought into being. And in my view did load, I'm going to set up my journal entry. So I'm going to say if let journal entry equal journal entry. I'll say journal entry contents dot text equals journal entry dot contents. And then the navigation item dot title. Okay, the title of it's going to be in the navigation bar up here is going to be the journal entry dot description. And again, remember the description is just the date and time of that particular item. So now the question is, I have this journal entry, but how does this view controller know which entry got passed to it? How does it know which row got tapped? And the way I do that is through the did select row at index path method. So I need to actually go back to my table view controller. I'm going to just use the this view for right now, so I can just see one file at a time. And down here at the bottom, I have this prepare for segue method. And prepare for segue is a way to package up information to transfer from one view controller to the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this. I'm going to get rid of this and this. And let's go ahead and add some text to that. So I'm going to say if let journal entry view controller segue dot destination view controller. So what this means, let me change that to lowercase. So the destination view controller means where am I going when I click one of those table cells. So the destination view controller in this case is the journal entry view controller. Okay? So it's saying the destination is my journal entry view controller. Okay? So if that happens, the current cell equals the sender as a UI table view cell. The cell here means which cell was clicked, and it's a UI table view cell. The index path equals the self dot table view dot index path for cell. So it means what's the index of the cell that was clicked, and the entry that I want to pass equals journal. I think I did that wrong. Journal dot entry index path dot row. Let me just type in this last one and we'll go over it again. Journal entry view controller dot journal entry equals entry. Hopefully my errors go away. Good. All right, let's look at this in detail. So first of all, let me go back to my journal entry view controller and notice I have a property here called journal entry. Okay? And it's of type journal entry. So I'm saying let this journal entry view controller variable, if the segue destination is a journal entry view controller, so I've tapped on a table cell, let the cell equal whichever one was tapped, and the index path is what was the index of that cell that was tapped. So if it was the 5th cell or 6th cell or whatever, then the associated entry is the entry in the journal at that row. And then this is the view controller it's going to. This is that journal entry property here. So the journal entry property of the journal entry view controller, set it equal to the entry. So what I'm saying is the journal entry on that view controller is going to be equal to whichever entry was tapped in that row. And that's how I'm passing the information from one view controller to the next. I'm using this prepare for segue. So if I go ahead and run this, Let it come up for a second. So I have all my rows. Now if I tap on one, it says contents for entry 1. So it knows that really the second cell was tapped. And notice it puts the title in there. So if I go back, 0, 1, 2, 3. If I tap on the third row here, contents for entry 3. So the information is being passed by this prepare for segue function, which is pretty useful. So now I have the ability to view different entries. But what if I wanted to create my own new entry? We'll start to implement that functionality next.